Grandmaster Ronald Stone. Welcome you to another one of our USA Hapkido Union podcasts. We've been talking about improving your abilities as an instructor, and I can say from personal experience that one of the more important aspects is to have a structured curriculum. You've got to embrace the concept that you're going to have a progressive and structured curriculum in your instruction of the martial arts. Now, speaking from my personal experience, I have been in schools, and I started in 1970 in judo, went to taekwondo, and then eventually found Hapkido, and so I've been doing this quite a while, and I have Grandmaster and Master rank in those arts, and so consequently, some of the schools I was in, I noticed that it was just a matter of throwing tons of techniques. I had one school where the instructor would go into his office before class started, pull open his textbook of Hapkido, flip through it till he found a few clever technique pictures, and then he'd come out and teach that, and you may not see that same technique for a year. And there was promotions based on what mood he was in and how long you'd been with him, and there was no structure whatsoever to his teaching, and it was very confusing. And he'd often come in and say, well, you remember when we did this? And the students would look at him blank like, no, that's how long ago it was. I had come from taekwondo before I went to that particular school, and in taekwondo, of course, you have skills at each level. Each belt level, white belt all the way up, has pumse that you have to learn, certain techniques. You don't learn to run before you learn to walk, and you don't learn to walk before you crawl, and there's a structured evolution to it. So one of the important things to realize is that in the original traditional martial arts, there was a stepwise logical curriculum to their teaching. It wasn't just a matter of what I feel like showing you today. And even, sadly, even today in some of the arts that profess to be traditional, old school martial arts, they're just showing you whatever technique comes into their mind that particular day. And so that's what we want to talk about a little bit today. First of all, when you embrace a progressive and structured curriculum, you need to have good explanations. You need to have a clear roadmap for what how the student progresses, for progression of education. This progression introduces concepts and techniques in a logical sequence, and it builds on the fundamental and the foundational knowledge, and gradually increases little by little over time with increasing complexity. So each class at each level should have a clear objective and should contribute to the overall learning goals. The curriculum should have an impact on learning by ensuring that students develop a solid understanding of the fundamentals before they move on to more advanced techniques. This systematic approach prevents gaps in knowledge and promotes a deeper understanding of the art. Clear learning objectives provide focus and allow students to track their progress. And finally, students are more likely to stay engaged when they have a clear path, when they know what it takes to advance. And so there's an impact on retention of knowledge and improvement of skills. The students feel that there's a sense of accomplishment as they progress through the ranks. The structured curriculum provides a sense of purpose and direction and motivates students to continue their journey. As I said before, it also decreases confusion and frustration. So I would encourage you that if you don't have a set curriculum, you can go to the traditional arts, to places like the USA Hapkido Union, get in contact with their officers, and they can, show you what the, at least in the Korean arts, what those curriculum involve. You can go to the, international or the national headquarters of the arts and ask them. And if where you go to says, well, what do you mean curriculum? I mean, you just teach these techniques, you're in the wrong place. So remember, embrace a progressive and a structured curriculum to improve your teaching abilities and the success of your instruction. And again, thank you for listening to my ramblings. And this is Grandmaster Ronald Stone wishing you a happy day, and we'll talk to you soon.